pension plan.
Well, unless there are any further thoughts right now, we'll take some questions. Yes, sir, right over here.
My name is Martin Apple from the Council of Scientific Society Presidents. I want to commend you first on being able to integrate a whole number of separate realms and ideas. Everybody who's prescribing the solutions has one little lever they'd like to push to solve everything. And I realize and have shown us that you have to integrate a lot of different parts of a system to make it work. Now, among the parts of the system that we seem to always get to, no matter how we follow the trails, seems to be our trade balance with China. I mean, this has, in all your sets of data, seems to be a bigger lever than most. And if you look at how that came about, and we have a mechanism called the Bretton Woods Committee that was supposed to solve this by preventing it from happening. It doesn't work. Why don't we recreate it immediately in a form that will, I don't care whose name it has and how it works, but set it up so that it can function and solve the problem of fair trade balances between countries based on currency exchange. If we do this promptly and set a time limit of a couple of years to have it completely done, then there may be a lot of things that will happen between us and China. There'll be some frictions. The Middle Kingdom has its own view of what the world looks like, and so do we. But somewhere in that exchange rate, whether their currency goes up 40% or ours devalues in some way, we have to make an exchange that can help generate the necessary stay-at-home kind of things. Second thing about patient capital, I love the idea, but there's another way to look at it. Our financial system is the tail that's driving the dog, and it makes all of the large companies in the country look at short-term profits. And in order to do that, they can't invest in long-term potential opportunities. And that driving force, that impatient capital, has been pushing one of the drivers that moves a lot of our jobs offshore. We have a lot of invention in this country, but it's not being able to be kept here, because as soon as it becomes valuable enough, it has an opportunity to go offshore and make a higher profit. So these are the things we have to attack together.
Okay.
And I think you've got a good set of steps to begin. And the last component is education. I appreciate your community colleges and how to integrate, but we have to have a university system in which the people who graduate are effectively able to work in industries that don't exist yet.
Let's confine this to questions and not speeches. Thank you.
Let me just give you 3 quick answers to that. In terms of trade, we spent a lot of time in the document on enforcement of existing agreements, which the Senator spoke to. We mentioned the word tariffs as an inducement to proper behavior. If we don't see the sort of behavior that we're entitled to, we actually advocate tariffs. In the area of the corporations, I'm very, very strongly opposed to a lot of these multinational practices. But as the representative in the Congress and the Senator will tell you, we don't have in place a tax structure that incents them to do the right thing. So we have to put that in place. Finally, on education, with all respect, it is one of the greatest insults to the American people, with those roughly 30 million women and men unemployed today, to suggest that they're insufficiently educated and overpaid. Everybody in this room and in this nation wants to fix the education system. It is, I promise you, there are millions and millions and millions of sufficiently educated and sufficiently motivated and sufficiently unemployed Americans to fill any gap we have to fill in the near term. So we didn't see education as our prerogative. That's left. We left that mostly to the members.
Thank you. Let's take some more questions, and please do keep them short and make sure that they are questions. Identify yourself at the outset. This gentleman here in the yellow shirt.
Paul Gallagher, EIR News Service. I just wanted to bring up that in creating jobs, it's best to take the order that Franklin Roosevelt did it. First, deal with a completely out of whack banking system that is exhausting the credit of nations. And we could say, and
is there a question in there?
Yeah. The 4th sentence, which is all I need.
Okay.
We can see in Europe yesterday this bailout policy spirals on until it destroys the economy or we stop it. So I wanted to bring up that Glass-Steagall restoration is introduced in the Congress, has gone beyond 35 Republican and Democratic co-sponsors. Both Democrats and Republicans are pushing for that bill, and invite anyone in the panel to comment on the relevance of that.
It's extremely relevant. I was the insurance commissioner for 8 years of my life and understand exactly what happened when a bad mistake was made in 1998 and Glass-Steagall was repealed. It ought to be reinstituted for many, many reasons, some of which you've already described.
Let me just add that the other part of the Roosevelt agenda was to create a parallel banking system, a public purpose finance system. My colleague Mike Lind has written, I think, a very important study on how you recreate a public purpose finance system that has been eroded over the last 10 to 15, 20 years. And it seems like the first missing piece is to, with the infrastructure bank in particular, is to put in place ways to be able to channel excess idle capital into productive public investment and public and private investment. And indeed, one of the true legacies of the New Deals were all these loan and lending and banking, quasi-banking systems that was put in place in the 1930s and 40s.
You know, those of us who have been here as long as I have, we all have votes that we wish we could change and other votes we're proud of. One I'm proud of, so I was one of 8 senators in 1998 to vote against repeal of Glass-Steagall. And I gave a speech. Well, I didn't mean to do that. I wouldn't do that. I'm just saying that. I would say was that, and a lot of us gave speeches at the time, but I wanted to say that I remember the pressure that was put on us by the White House, by Bob Rubin, by Larry Summers and others, that this was the way to go, the thing to do, and also, what's his name, the head of the Fed, Greenspan.
Greenspan.
Boy, this is...
How soon we forget.
We'd like to forget. And I just wanted to mention, if I recall correctly, Senator, your floor speech at the time was quite prescient in warning of, what might happen. Let's take some questions at the back of the room, maybe. The lady there right on